everybody, and welcome back. Sorry about the wrong recap plate at the beginning. Don't worry about it. So, Devon has returned home to Necrot.
Yes, indeed.
Excellent. You've got your mining crew. You're going to go fabricate some stairs down to this place. You're going to build in a production line. You're going to mine some fucking silver. It is 5 hexes away, so it'll take about 3 days for people to get there. And if you're going to want to be hauling
equipment, probably more.
Yeah, and if you're going to want to haul silver ore, it's going to take a lot to get back because wagons over these rough hills are going to be tough.
I think we're going to set up a mining camp there. And then eventually...
The mining camp will need access to the mine, but you're also going to need like storage for all of your ore that you make because you're not going to smelt it on site. Plus like habitation for your population there. There's a little bit of work that needs to be done to make this place self-sustaining, right? Since it's not close enough to town for people to like pack a lunch every time they go to work.
No, it will be like a separate mining camp.
Okay.
Maybe seasonal. Maybe just a one-off. Head out there for a couple of weeks, get what we can, come back. 25 miles, that's not actually that far.
Yeah.
Right, it's close enough that it's worth probably dragging the ore back to be refined rather than...
At least until such time as you can find easier methods of transportation. Because eventually, like, if you want to ship that stuff by boat, it's a longer journey, but you would only need, like, what, 2 people, 3 people to operate a boat? And then you could very easily and reliably...
What kind of boat are you? You mean like a rowboat? You're gonna row?
No, but like a very small... You wouldn't need a very large vessel to pull out the amount of ore that you are capable of mining at this point.
Transport ore? I think you're talking about a ship, not a boat. Like a...
You just replace a fishing boat. Instead of putting fish in the hole, you put rocks.
Yeah.
Boats can hold shit.
Yeah.
You might need more than 3 people to operate it.
Yeah, I said 2. I don't know. You better research this for Tides of Death.
I have detailed charts for that one. We could pull some of the ship figures from there.
I don't really care.
Okay, cool.
I plan on delegating this to
lesser people.
Yes, to our craftspeople. We've got those dwarves that have relocated. They may actually, if there really is a ready supply of silver, they may actually be the ones, because they're not attached to Necrot necessarily.
Right.
They might rather set up a little house, base of operations near the silver mine.
And
I believe they were bronze workers, but silver is moving up in the world. And
there was talk of them possibly bringing in other family members if this area was interesting enough for them to stay. Right? This was sort of like an expeditionary force. If there's a silver mine that discovered here, they might be interested in that.
So unless the whole family is interested, I think we'll at least bring a representative along. And then maybe Akitos will come, at least for this exploratory mission.
Excellent. Well, with you leading the way and probably no less than 20 people in tow, I imagine no monsters will come across you unless they're absolutely terrifying. That's a large enough group of people that most creatures would stay away.
I think we've already reached the point where even Devon alone doesn't really encounter much in these hills that are a concern. We definitely had those conversations where you've like rolled on the encounter chart. You're like, oh, that's not a problem anymore. Well, killed all those.
Yep. All right. You can bring these folks here after a few days of supplying and gathering and talking and organizing and yada yada and checking in on your tower and its construction and all the things that you're doing. I guess your blood fountains with the giant now. You can set out. And you said you wanted to fabricate some things here, yeah?
Nothing specific. Just like the silver mine. But if there are laborers, we can probably handle that. So I think I will fabricate away the hillside. Although it doesn't clear out a ton. So it says if you work with a mineral, the area of effect is reduced by a factor of 27, 1 cubic foot instead of 1 cubic yard. So it seems like you're not meant to be able to use this to clear material. It seems weird that like you can fabricate with 1 cubic yard of wood.
I think it just slows down the rate of fabrication, so that way you can't get that spell and instantly build a castle. You could build like a wooden fort, or you could take 27 times as long and build a stone fort.
Oh, maybe that's what they mean by mineral. They mean, so like using like wood or fabric or some other raw material versus like stone.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense to me.
A cubic foot is not very much. You can't fabricate much at all. 9 cubic feet, that's like a small section of a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if it's super thin, you could build a small structure. Or wood.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a 1 foot by 1 foot section of wall, right?
Mm-hmm. But 9 cubic feet of earth is not very much either.
Right.
Well, fireball it is. Honestly, my lesser disintegration I think is more effective. I can do 1 cubic foot per round with a 4th level spell, just digging it away.
Just dig. The caster may clear an area equal to 1 cubic foot per round. Yeah. And
I don't know that it...
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say I don't know that we need to think about any of this, because especially heading back and getting a work crew.
Mm-hmm.
Where our goal is just going to be to set up a mine here.
Mm-hmm.
So like whether it's more efficient to fabricate a staircase over the course of days or have laborers dig it out.
I feel like you could do
irrelevant. Probably some combination of the two.
2 steps per round with lesser disintegration if you have already like a half decent angle built into the natural hillside. I would say if you just wanted to build a staircase, you could do it at 2 steps per round, each step being a half a foot.
I feel like this is what fabricate is meant to do, but the actual mechanics of the spell make it seem gimped. Although, what if you're removing material instead of taking it away? Like, what if you're trying to build a staircase out of a hillside?
Yeah, fabricate is more for making things, not removing things, right? So fabricate.
But if you're trying to make a staircase,
mm-hmm.
right, make a bridge out of a clump of trees, rope from hemp, cloth from flax, blah blah blah. I guess you're meant to like have a pile of material. I guess if the caster works from a mineral, the area of effect is reduced 1 cubic foot instead of 1 cubic yard.
It sounds like fabricate and dig are the 2 sides of the same coin. One of them builds something from other materials, and dig like removes material for what you need.
Yeah, excavate 125 cubic feet per round.
Yeah.
This is just dig straight down, though. I don't know. I don't have a dig, so it doesn't really matter. But,
okay. I feel like you could use dig at an angle to make a staircase.
That said, I could make... But then it's like not a staircase. It's a hole. Fabricate could make a staircase.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking 1 cubic foot, how many cubic feet per step of a staircase? I would say like a step is probably like half a cubic foot. I'm thinking like, or maybe a quarter, like 6 by 6. But it's a couple feet long. Maybe a step is a cubic foot. Although if it's only like the top surface that's rounded, it seems like
if you have a 2-inch step, that is how long wide do you want your staircase to be? 3 feet?
Standard is probably 3 or 4 feet wide, right?
Yeah.
3.5. Let's say 3 feet.
Yeah. Each step would be 3 feet, and that's 2 inches. And how tall is a step? 6 inches. We don't have to use modern, comfortable standards. We
Sure,
can just
2 inches seems too like it, but an inch. But since there's 2 surfaces, so let's say 6 inches times 2 inches times 3 feet. Oh wait, but we're inches.
6 inches
So
by 2 inches by
one-
3 feet. Yeah.
divided by 144 inches to feet. So 4 steps is a cubic foot of material using that. Okay, so every round you can fabricate 4 steps out of mineral. So I can make 4 steps into a hillside. That seems fair enough. And then, so with 1 casting of fabricate, I can make 36 steps. That seems totally reasonable, actually.
Yeah.
So over the course of 9 minutes, Devon can fabricate, and then like, it's not removing a ton of material. It's like etching a little staircase into the hillside that sort of switchbacks its way towards the entrance.
I was even thinking you could just get some trees and build a staircase on the cliffside.
If there are trees around, that would actually be way more efficient, because then you can do in yards.
Right. Well, you just need to get
yards.
some trees from over here and bring them over here.
If the laborers, then I could build like scaffolding up the face of the mine.
But hauling trees is a ginormous task.
I guess I'll fabricate the trees into a cart.
Oh my god. That's exactly what Fabricate would do. Fabricate the trees into a cart, have the dwarves chop and their laborers chop down some trees, haul them in the cart.
Nope, they don't even need to chop. Like Fabricate converts trees to raw material. So I could convert
trees into just lumber.
Right. So I could convert 9 cubic yards of trees into a cart filled with lumber.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then those lumber carts could be converted into scaffolding.
Yeah, you could just convert the entire cart when you get back here. Oh my god. It's amazing.
Yep, Minecraft.
Okay. So it looks like this will probably take you maybe doing some quick ballpark math, a week and a half or so. Yeah. Because you'll have to go over here, get the shit, bring it back here, build it. It's going to be like 2 days, 2 days, day of building, 2 days, 2 days, day of building. So we'll say 5 days per. How many fabricates can you cast a day? That's going to be based on your regeneration rate, isn't it?
Have you sent me... Yeah, it's going to be based on regeneration rate, I guess, if we're talking that way. Do you know how many points is a... Oh, here's a mana cost.
Yeah.
5th level spell costs 25. If I can do nothing but, like, study and regain a ton of MP. Right? What's the average on D13s? It's like 6.5. Over 4 days, top 2. I can probably sustainably only do a fabricate every other day. My mana pool is like 3 fabricates. Mana pool is exactly 3 fabricates, but I have 2 spells that I typically have earmarked. We don't need to do the statistics. It's like I can sustainably do like 1 every day, maybe 1 every other day, if like we can set up a study tent for Devon at the work site where he can spend his time resting and studying to recover his MP. And just popping out to fabricate.
Yeah. Okay. So it'll take a couple of weeks. Not a problem. You can do this with your dwarves and Akutos and your laborers. And once the stairways are complete and you have access... actually, quick question. Did you want to do like a staircase down to the beach from a short spot and then back up? Or did you just want to do a staircase that like comes out and hangs down to the mine? That like never goes all the way to the ocean?
unless it needs to go all the way to the ocean, there will probably be scaffolding all the way to the ocean. So
Support beams.
I think I still will
sense.
do the earthen staircase leading to the mine, because that seems stronger and more stable.
Yeah.
And then maybe some scaffolding into the hillside, whatever the miners tell me needs to be built.
Okay.
Yeah, the staircase idea was I thought I would have more mana to do this, so I was going to fabricate myself a staircase out of there instead of having to climb, but I spent all my mana with the earth elemental.
Right.
So,
well, couple weeks later,
question:
silver mine up and running.
How bad? Can you hear the cars going by? I have flipped
Almost
on
never.
this like suppressed background noise that I haven't used in the past. I'm just curious if it's working.
I haven't heard any cars.
Those are small cars, but okay. Maybe I'll ask next time a jerk with a unmuffled motorcycle drives by. Cool. Seems like that does work. Yeah, so a couple of weeks are spent mining silver. Was there anything at the back of that mine, or was it just the elemental eating its way through?
It's probably just the elemental eating its way through, but there is sort of like a twisting crawl path that would be awkward to crawl through.
Now that Devon will explore this once we've returned.
Yeah, so the mine
crawl
goes
the whole way to the back.
The cave goes 35, 40 feet back, and then it becomes too narrow to really walk. So it becomes
I'll
like
use a
crawl.
minor disintegrate to like claw my way through.
Excellent.
I have a question about how you treat disintegrate. When you disintegrate something, does it destroy the material and like remove it from existence? It just like breaks it down to like
deintegrates it. Yeah.
Okay. So like if you disintegrate through a gold vein, you'll just be left with like gold powder.
Gold dust would be all over the place. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Or maybe like where you're like some sections of gold dust plus chunks, because I assume you'd like reach in and pull out. So a mix of everything.
Cool.
Yeah, you can crawl back through this little windy area for about 100 feet or so, and it doesn't really change. It just gets a little tighter and a little tighter, and it doesn't seem like there's anything here. It probably is remnant of the elemental moving through, but it is a curiosity.
Cool.
The dwarves will insist on, boarding it up or stoning it up just to be on the safe side.
Really?
They're a little paranoid about things coming out from under the earth.
I don't think I tell them what it was, right? This is the mine, isn't it?
Certainly, but when they get here and they see this place and they see this like weird tunnel that just goes back in, they're immediately suspicious and distrustful, and they're like, we should just pile rocks in there and like.
Isn't there silver in there?
Well, especially there's silver here
especially
too.
If they see Devon crawling around inside of it. Yeah, okay, sure. How many? So there is a group of dwarves. It's not just one dwarf here to.
Yes, a group of 5 came out to see what was up.
All right, they can do what they want. I'm not going to waste any MP with humoring them, but
yeah, they'll pile dirt and rocks and mud in there as they need.
After I've thoroughly investigated it and made sure there's nothing interesting, can I roll some sort of check just to ease my mind? Another perception or like, I guess there's no like arcanology to be had here.
Yeah, just give me a perception check. See if you notice anything odd about the area.
Yeah,
your eyes and ears and hands.
Close my character sheet. Did you hear that putt-putt?
No, I did not.
Dang, Zoom. Okay, you can keep randomly changing my microphone settings as long as you filter out the background noise. All right, nope.
Yeah, there's nothing.
So you tell me, do you know when you fail the check? Typically not, right? So Devon feels like there's nothing interesting back here.
Correct.
And it doesn't even seem particularly magical. It's probably just the elemental was eating.
Yeah.
Is elemental shit particularly interesting? I think I would burn a detect magic to scope this out.
You will see...
Sprinkling the powders as I go. Is it better to sprinkle or to snort? Like, can you sprinkle powders over an area?
You
Or is it
can,
just one
totally.
object?
Yeah, you could like put it in your hand and blow it on things or sprinkle it on things.
Yeah, so I do that. Other than the residue from my disintegration claws.
No, you don't see anything.
Nothing.
Just the small residue, small faint magic from your disintegration in this area. Seems totally mundane, and like the DM has thrown you a red herring that has absolutely no bearing on your campaign. You should trust it.
Yeah, that's fine. Cool. So, does anything interesting happen here? Any miners jump off the cliff looking for sirens?
No miners jump off the cliff looking for sirens. The dwarves immediately take a liking to this silver mine, and they'll make requests that you like fabricate a staircase all the way down to the water so they can use water as part of their mining process. It helps to, you know, something. And we also need access to that fresh water over there, and they have a few requests for how to
I'll
fabricate some stuff.
For a week or so. Doing this, building a probably only take like 2 days maybe to get down the cliff face. We're saying 36 steps per casting.
And each step is a half foot, so that's 18 feet per casting, so
maybe like 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah, build a staircase down. So there will be like a winding staircase etched into the cliffside. Made of... It's from mineral, so basically it probably converts the like earth into a like compacted clay.
That makes sense. Yeah. You
That's
just
why
shove
it's so
it.
inefficient. Yeah, and then we'll build a big scaffolding, maybe some goofy water wheel or whatever they were discussing.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Eventually, the dwarves will try and like find a way to make like an aqueduct between that that creek. So it'll like slide along the cliffside, so they'll have access to fresh water just like coming on in. But these are long-term plans.
Yeah.
And once a ready supply of wood is available, they can, you know, work on this stuff while exploring the mines as well, and turning it into something useful. By the time you return to Necrot, one of the dwarves comes with you and eagerly tells the others of what they have found. They speak of it with high praise, fascinated by the minerals found here, and the potential for what this place could be. And a few days later, the dwarves here in Necrot decide to send an emissary back to the rest of their family, way up in those hills, way the hell over there. What is this, like?
I believe
80 miles away?
Did we get around to building a pathway through the fen? Maybe we didn't.
Yeah, there's a pathway.
There's a pathway? We didn't.
Yeah, there's a pathway.
Yeah, okay.
It's drawn even.
Okay. Okay.
Great.
Dwarves
do the thing?
Devon going along with them to build it, but I think it's already been built. So they can cross the fen on a network of boardwalks and bridges. Probably occasionally a bridge goes out, and so you get stuck, or it takes a day to like make a new way across or something.
Yeah, it's not going to be quite so easy as just walking on a bridge the whole way through. There will need to be adjustments as monsters break things, or, you know, wood rots, high winds blow things over, whatever it is that happens to be.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Chat it seems to be suggesting that I delegate some of this work to apprentices, which I think is sort of the case. We do have an apprentice, Cassandra, but Fabricate is a 5th level spell, so that's like a pretty powerful wizard thing to do.
Well,
does Cassandra, did she attend, does she like follow Devon around to see this work in action, or is she occupied in Necrot in Devon's absence?
So if you're a good wizard, you will always have stuff for your apprentice to do, right? There's scut work to do, there's grunt work to be done all the time. So it's up to you if you think this is a teaching opportunity worth Cassandra's attention to come check out the fabrication.
Yeah, I think Cassandra will accompany me. In fact, she has detect magic, so if we're willing to retcon that scene, to preserve his MP, he probably makes Cassandra come down and cast her. I think she's got the original version. I think we strategized. Yeah, she has the normal version of Detect Magic. Devon has the pattern. So if we're willing to retcon that scene, I think that would be an opportunity for Devon to have Cassandra use Detect Magic to save his MP for more useful things. She's also got Reveal Doors. Would you humor me and let me cast a reveal doors in that?
Absolutely.
In that scene, did that reveal anything?
No, there are no doors there.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. So
a silver mine has been added to Necrot's industry now.
Yes.
We're still not at maximum optimization. There's still some trouble getting supplies back and forth across and I say trouble, I just mean like time and duration and the occasional broken wagon wheel or, strap on a pack of goats or donkeys or whatever it is. Room for optimization, but it is up and running and productive.
Yeah, my apprentice probably has leveled up. We haven't really... I don't know that we feel that it's worth our time to put into actually addressing that character.
One day, but probably not today.
Yeah, but as it's pointed out, I think it's like 50 or 100 experience per spell that she casts. So what is that, like 20 spells and you level up? Is that how it works?
If she's level 1, then she would need 2,500. So that'd be 25 spells. And if you cast a spell,
you can't just use them.
Right, they have to be in situations in which are educational for her purposes, for her advancement.
And there's probably a lot of useless spell research that Devon sets her to for her own education. So it's like, even if he could do it better, or even if he already has the spell, it's like, here, research the spell for your education, and you get 100 XP or something if you research a spell rather than learning it the easy way.
Speaking of spell learning, there is a concept that I have been working on that I thought you might want to play with, or at least give some feedback on. But I don't know if there's anything else you want to accomplish with Devon for today. We got the silver mine up and running, so this feels like an appropriate time to delve into learning spells.
Yeah, that does seem reasonable.
So one of the things that's always bothered me about second edition is I've never really understood the concept of read magic. It sort of implies that all spell books are all written in the language of magic and spells are all written in the language of magic, and you need the spell to do it, which has always kind of struck me as odd. So I've been digging around and I've decided that read magic needs to be a dual purpose spell. It is read and write magic. And that spells are too complicated to ever be too, abstract to ever be communicated in mundane terms. So when you write a spell down, you write it in a magical language. And so you need to read magic in order to actually comprehend what spells say and do, because it's too abstract to put into the common tongue. And then anytime you want to write a spell, you would also need to read magic, or write magic in this case. So if you want to make a copy of a spell for somebody else, you would need to cast read magic, write magic, in order to copy down a spell for someone then to cast.
Makes sense. So,
yeah.
Okay. And there's no way to record spells without a write magic.
Correct. Now, this does create a an obvious problem. What happens if you don't have your spellbook? How are you ever going to recreate it? And so this comes with a slight change in the concept of spell memorization, where you can memorize, if you spend all day in meditation or focus or spell learning, you can memorize one spell level per day. So that way, if you find yourself empty and alone with literally nothing around you, you could memorize one casting of write magic in a day and then use that to write down or anything else, right? But in this case,
would be like a spell you can spend a day learning a spell level if you don't have your spell book.
If you don't have your spell book, and if
you magic missile but you don't have your spell book, you could all right, I'm going to recreate. Do you need like a piece of paper to write it down on, or you just like do it from memory?
You would do it from memory, and if you have your spell book, then you have the actual texts before you that you'd know, and it's easier to do.
10 minutes.
Right. But if you're having to do it on your own, you might, maybe you need some paper to make some notes, or you draw on the dirt, or I think every person's process would be a little bit different. And then this way, there is a process to the magic. So I actually have some text, which I can send you.
Sure. Well, yeah, let's take a look at it. Devon does not memorize spells.
Right. This is maybe not for Devon, but maybe for Cassandra.
Oh, yeah.
And then the read and write magic sort of goes at similar rates where that didn't work out well. This. No.
There still seems to be the problem that if you don't have read magic, you can't. Wizard.
Right. So this the second paragraph, the spell read magic is the cornerstone of all wizard magic. Without it, magic is almost impossible to do. Spells are memorized in days per spell level instead of turns per spell level. When a wizard would have to research all their own spells, having no way to learn them from another person. So in theory, if you don't have read or write magic, you could get around and you could manage these things, but it would just take you forever to do anything. And this is why everyone starts with read magic, because it is the thing that allows wizards to be wizards.
Do you get it without rolling, or is there a chance to fail?
No. Everyone starts with read magic and detect magic, because those are like the basic cornerstones of magic. I guess you could start without detect, but it's such a useful spell, Yeah. So all wizard, like read magic is the first thing a wizard would learn, and it's probably the hardest thing to learn because you don't have the magical inscriptions before you, since you can't read it. You'd have to be taught how to conjure, how to evoke, how to divine the read magic spell on your own, which is a difficult task. But then once you get that, it unlocks all the other possibilities for you.
Okay, so you can write any spell you know.
You can write any spell you know without having memorized it.
Okay. By casting a write magic.
Correct. And then there's a little text in here about how many pages it takes to write spells, which is just like the default, and then extrapolated a little bit to make read and write magic have some rules, but they're all pretty basic extrapolations of the base rules. Nothing fancy.
Wait, is this in terms of hours instead of rounds?
Turns? Wait, what?
Typically, read magic is like 1 round per level.
1 round per level, 2 pages per round.
You've got it. Writing happens at 4 pages per hour. So write magic is over the course of hours.
Yes. Write magic happens more slowly.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. It almost seems like a refinement rather than a rebuild. Like it seems like this fits in pretty well with
that. I am very pleased to hear you say that, because I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I just wanted to make the wheel make sense a little bit.
I'm not sure how I feel about being so absolutist with spells can only be written down in the language of magic, because I've always, at least in absence of this kind of a system, we've kind of been pretty flexible with what spell books can look like, or what spell research can look like.
It's true.
So I feel like it does take away a little bit of that.
But it also gives purpose to the read magic spell, which otherwise doesn't make any sense.
It makes sense. It just felt incomplete.
But why would you need to cast read magic to learn someone else's spell book if it's all just written down in common? It seemed like an unnecessary mechanic at that point.
The question it begs is why it seems like each wizard has their own script or something, because you don't need to cast read magic to read your own spell book. And once you've deciphered a text, you can read it. again, I think. Like once you've
Yes.
read magic on a particular spell, you've deciphered it and you understand it.
Yes.
So does every wizard have their own code?
I think
don't
it's
know.
one of those things where you end up translating one language into another and then giving it form, and the form is magical innately.
Mhm.
And so it doesn't always come out the exact same way. The signs and sigils are sort of like, if you and I were both to describe a handsome tugboat that we saw in the harbor, we would be describing the same tugboat, but it might come out differently. So you would need the read magic to like comprehend.
But we're talking even more abstract. This would be like if we were both to describe the sunset behind the handsome tugboat.
Yeah.
Only like the language of poetry would do it justice, and even that would be abstract.
Right.
Maybe
and you
a
and
song would be better.
And we would write different songs or different poems. Yeah. To describe the same thing. But then once comprehended in their entirety, they would be like...
So the read magic, when you're writing a spell book, you're like writing a poem, and you cast a read magic on the poem and see past the poem to the sunset that inspired it, or something like that.
That is the right... Yes, that's a perfect explanation.
The fireball that inspired the sonnet.
Exactly. Okay. And then you can see, two different people have written the fireball sonnet, and then you can see it from two different points of view. Even though once you read both of those, you understand they're inspired by the same function, same action.
I like it. I still feel like spell research should be more abstract. I don't feel like when you're spell researching, you should be limited by how quickly you can write magic. Right? I imagine spell research as like hundreds of pages of notes to decipher a fireball, and most of it's gibberish.
Yeah.
Or wrong, or right, or like you have to derive your way to get there, and it's not written in the language of magic.
I think research is still that. Yeah, this has no bearing on research whatsoever. Or it shouldn't, until you get to the final form that you then need to write down.
Okay.
Research is still done in like weeks per something.
It's like a week per spell level or something like that.
Yeah, a week per spell level, and then you can do additional weeks to increase your chance.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah. Seems good.
Excellent. Let me try and put this in some format that I can then share with the populace at large for other feedback. I just wanted yours first.
Is the wizard rebuild public?
It is, yes.
So are you thinking you could put this in that document?
That's probably a great spot to put it.
Although the wizard rebuild might have MP systems or something.
Yes, it does. So the MP system does not affect this, because this has nothing to do with spell slots.
Other than just memorization.
Right.
Ooh. Chat's got some interesting ideas.
I haven't seen them. You want
to... Wild Magic. Oh, of course, Wild Magic Eve has good ideas on the subject. Just making the analogy to compression algorithms. It's like fireball.rar. Right? So like writing something in the language of magic compresses it, and you need the right program to uncompress it. Malcontentitor asking about writing magic in different forms. So like writing it versus tying like knots or carvings on stone.
Well,
tattoos on a wizard. How would you work all of that into a read magic, write magic?
I think tattoos on a person could work as well, because that's just another physical translation.
Yeah. And if you're talking in terms of hours, right, a tattoo could take hours. That seems like an easy enough hack.
Knots on ropes as a language is a thing that has historically existed. It's not super efficient. So I guess maybe if you wanted
content is low.
Yeah, so this could probably translate to that, but you might have to increase durations. Like instead of it taking 1d6 so-called pages to write a spell down, it might be like 3d6 pages to write a first level spell down.
It's not something. Page. I think it's more how many knots or how many ropes it looks like. That
but what I'm saying is that
campaign or setting specific.
The information density, as you said, is low of those things. It would take you more of that stuff, which would probably be more castings of read and write magic in order to make it happen. But at this point, like, writing is the medium to convey information. So any writing system, in theory, would be functional for this. It just matters like durations and times.
And then in terms of spell books, could you write spells on any paper?
Yes, I think you can. Yeah.
The act of using a write magic is what makes it a spell book. Correct. And then there's like we talk about like processing a spell book or like protecting a spell book from water or whatever. That's what makes a spell book super expensive.
I would say if you had like a still room with a thick layer of dust, you could write magic your spell in the dust on the floor and then open the door and let it blow away. So we write it in protected spell books just for the sake of protection. You could write it in stone tablets.
Tablet.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which I think we've described Devon doing, which normally would probably take a while.
Mm-hmm.
However, in conjunction maybe with his disintegration, maybe he can...
Ooh, you could like disintegrate and then write with your finger?
Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool.
We were talking about that last session.
Yeah, I like that.
It's not particularly efficient because you have to use a 4th level spell slot that lasts 1 round per level,
But then you have highly protected assets. Yeah. Love it. Okay, I've added it to the wizard rebuild and I'm putting it in Twitch chat. If you are not in Twitch chat, you can find the wizard rebuild via the Regal Goblins website in the toolbox under actually it's not there yet. I'll put it there.
Okay. I was going to say, or you can just get lost on regalgoblins.com looking at some other random house rule and never make your way there.
Mm-hmm. You can get lost on thegoatspot.com looking for goats. Never find your way there. I just do. Oh boy. Okay.
I guess anything any medium could be used for the language of magic. Right, we were talking about tattoos and rope carving. So I don't know that this, ignore me, I'm babbling. There is already so we're talking about paper types. There's already bonuses given for paper versus papyrus, etc. for scroll making, I think. So that seems in line with being able to write magic on any medium. And perhaps using particular paper would be more long-lasting, more durable, yada, yada. Cool stuff.
Okay, it should be on... Yeah, there it is now.
Devon has not really done any scroll making, despite now being eligible.
I heard that one.
You heard that rumble?
I heard that one.
Was it faint, or was it like it broke through the filter? Like it was too much. It was so much that Zoom didn't know how to handle it. It was
too
really
much
loud.
That Zoom. Yeah, it was low. It was lower than your speaking volume, so it wasn't obnoxious. Okay. It was just present.
Okay, so it did filter it a little bit.
Yeah. Yes, I think our next step for Devon should probably be looking into spell writing, scroll writing, because we've done some potion making. We've found a silver mine. We've chased some elementals around.
So speaking of stone tablets, an idea that occurred to me, another loud one.
That was loud, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was loud for me. Would be making scrolls on tablets. So typically for a scroll, you need to get like special ingredients for the ink and quill. But I'm thinking getting like compressed earth from the elemental plane of earth, or like tablets of silver or something like that, seem to me to be valuable enough that like etching scrolls into a silver tablet or into a chunk of the elemental plane of earth.
Ooh.
Could be a suitable replacement.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what spells I would want to bother putting into a scroll form, though.
The mana system does make scrolls a little less useful since you already have access to everything.
Quite a bit less useful. I mean, it helps if you don't have mana. But looking at my spell list, nothing here. Like, typically for a scroll, you want like a get out of jail free card. Right. So I think I eventually, if we want to go down this route, something like a teleport would be something you'd want in a scroll.
Right. Definitely high level spells that have a lot of MP would be great scroll. Yeah. I think normally it's the other way around. You want to make a lot of low level things so you don't need to memorize like a detect magic and a light spell and all this like random crap. So normally you would typically go for the low level cheap scrolls just to kind of fill your inventory, but you would want the exact opposite almost, which is like the expensive fancy scrolls, which is cool because it just shifts the scroll usage a little bit, which is nice.
Although I think it takes weeks to make a scroll, so it'd only be useful if I'm going to set up a silver mine. It might be handy to like bring with me like 5 scrolls of fabricate, do all the work up front, and save me having to like waste weeks on site.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But
because the other downside to the MP system is it takes you many days to regain all your spell points. So it takes 1 day per spell level to create a scroll.
1 day per spell level?
1 day per spell level.
That's not bad. It's like 5 days to make a...
Ink for spells of 1st to 3rd level requires a rare ingredient. Ink for spells of 4th to 6th level require an exotic ingredient.
So say again, of which...
Rare for 1st to 3rd, exotic for 4th to 6th.
So I feel like precious metals are rare. So like making a sheet of silver and using that as a scroll or even a sheet of... Is copper rare? Maybe not.
No.
But silver seems rare enough that you could use silver. Exotic could be the whole like compressed earth from the elemental plane of earth, or even just like some of that iron I pulled from the elemental plane of earth. Or
rare materials are more difficult to find or more expensive. A particular grade of silk, diamonds, rock feathers, ebony, or a wizard's bones, or iron smelted by a master dwarven smith would be rare. So
okay, so silver is not in and of itself rare. Silver smelted by the greatest smith in the land. What's his name? Heifer. Right, so I think Heifer pounding sheets of smelting and hammering sheets of silver sounds rare to me, right?
Now, are these sheets of silver what you would write the scrolls upon?
Yes. Yeah. So instead of like paper, I guess we've started paper making, and Cassandra was researching that. So like using papyrus. And in theory, I could use like cockatrice blood or cockatrice quills. Right? Is the ingredient is in the ink, isn't it?
Yeah. So normally ink for scrolls are brewed like potions or something like that, and you need to get fancy inks. But I think if you're going to be using like negative space, like a disintegrate to write your scrolls, then maybe the
rare
paper
material is the paper. Yeah.
It's like really thinly hammered sheet of silver that can be rolled up and then like has carvings in the space between. The edges are probably like sharp enough to cut you a little bit.
Yeah.
I like that. I really like that idea of silver scrolls with holes in them.
Yeah. I mean, isn't Dicing with Death just our little D&D factory? Like,
I love it.
Feel free to drop that in as treasure in a future campaign.
I totally will. Almost anything that alters, changes, decorates, or aids the production of an item. Final piece of the process.
So it takes a rare ingredient and and a rare process.
I think it just takes a rare ingredient.
Typically, and isn't there something about the quill as well? There's definitely something about a quill.
Oh yeah, I think I'm just on the wrong fucking page. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Okay, processes and materials. Scrolls require 3 components: paper, ink, and a unique quill. Common paper, parchment, or papyrus may be used to create scrolls. Inks do this. Geometers have this advantage. Am I missing the the quill section?
Let's see.
So here is an example. Milana, an 8th level priestess, decides to create a scroll of protection from poison since she and her fellow adventurers are intending on going wyvern hunting. She's capable of casting the spell Neutralize Poison. She doesn't need to do research. It's a 4th level spell, so it requires an exotic material. The DM decides it must include nightshade harvested during the dark of the moon. So she spends a week or more locating the mushrooms, waiting for the proper time to collect them. The quill must be a feather steeped in the venom of an adder.
Okay, so so in this case, the quill is used as an example of a rare ingredient or whatever, right?
Yeah. So I think the ink and the quill both need to be rare ingredients then?
Geometers have a special advantage of requiring nothing except for a parchment and a rare quill, which can only be used once. Let's see. All scrolls require a rare quill of some kind. First paragraph under processes and materials.
Oh,
Are you looking
okay.
at spells and magic?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so everything needs a rare quill. Okay, scrolls require 3 ingredients: paper, ink, and a unique quill.
Okay. So rare ingredient for the quill always, and then a rare or exotic material for the ink.
So I think what Devon might wind up doing, depending on how we feel about like the disintegration as is that the quill or is that the ink, right? The negative space is the ink, right? It seems like there needs to be another process involved in the creation. One option is to use a tune.
A tune?
Let's see, here where did I add that to my, is it a 2nd level spell? I didn't add that to my spell list, but you created the attunement spell that I that we mentioned last time to turn a natural weapon into an extension of your body. So I could make a shaft of some rare piece of wood or something, attune it to my body, cast lesser disintegration through it, and use that as a quill to etch into the silver, disintegrating with the tip of a like stone sliver or a whatever appropriately rare quill, rather than with a finger. And this would also allow for like finer writing, right? It's one thing to have like heaps of stone tablets for your library, but if you're trying to carry a portable scroll, you probably want to get something finer. So in this case, it will be like I think any natural material would do. So I could even attune myself to a cockatrice's quill feather. Cast disintegrate through the cockatrice's quill.
And then
right, so the attunement lets you use the natural object as if it were an extension of your body, in this case for the use of a touch attack. So the lesser disintegration is like a touch attack through.
Okay. But if
Weapon.
each spell scroll requires a unique quill, then like that might work for a spell, but then the next spell that you would want to write down would probably need another.
Does that mean you need to come up with a new quill for every scroll you make?
For every scroll type you make, yeah.
Oh, I guess it needs to be specific to the. Like I guess they don't want you with a cockatrice farm using cockatrice feathers for every scroll you write.
Right. So when you make your scroll of protection from petrification, you use a cockatrice feather, but when you make your scroll of fireball, you use like a phoenix feather or something.
Yeah. Phoenix feather sounds super rare. That's like
that might be too far. That's probably an exotic ingredient instead of a rare ingredient.
Yeah. Let's see, the example has a feather steeped in the venom of an adder. So it could just be a regular quill with some processing done to it that is relevant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Alternately, like typically you just write on regular paper. We could swap out the rare ingredient for a rare tablet in certain circumstances, right? Like if it's a scroll of Conjure Elemental, having a tablet from the elemental plane of Earth as the rare ingredient, and then just etching it in normally. So like swapping the rare quill for the rare paper seems like a reasonable substitution if it's appropriate. But it does seem like the processes and the materials should be specific to the spell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool stuff. I don't know what I'm trying to make now, but it's...
Well, that seems like probably a good thing to do for our next session, because we don't have a lot of time. I got some other things I need to do today.
Yeah, we can wrap it up. I think Devon, he does have 5th level spells, so I can get Conjure Elemental, which I think will make sense narratively.
Mm-hmm.
Researching Conjure Elemental and conjuring back my Elemental Slave.
Mm.
I think once I'm a higher level, making a some kind of magic item to trap the elemental.
Mm-hmm.
Either like a collar that I put around the elemental that forces it to stay here and obey commands.
Ooh. Finding some way to bind it to your will more permanently.
I mean, there are those like sensors of elemental summoning or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's several levels down the line, I think.
Yeah. So, you want to research a spell?
There were some good suggestions for magic items. The one that didn't... So we did have the potion of elemental breath I can make now, right? I think I've gathered bits of an elemental.
Oh, yeah.
Earth elemental. I think I can do the earth elemental breath.
Nice.
And what I liked the suggestion to combine them.
Yeah,
right,
I think that was on the subreddit.
Yeah, I mean, I'll need to go hunting to get like air or water or fire stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that would be a special property of these potions, where like maybe there's a small chance of failure, but usually when you combine potions, you roll on a table. But I think these would be like you can intentionally mix these potions to like you drink an earth and a fire breath potion, and you can belch lava or something like that.
Right.
So, fun stuff. Most of the other magical items will have to wait until level 12, maybe level 14 for permanency. 16 for permanency, right?
14 for lesser, 16 for greater.
Okay.
Yeah, I made a lesser permanency just to make magic items at a slightly lower level, and then greater permanency allows you to make spell effects permanent on living creatures.
Cool.
Yeah.
So then we'll get to that. Now that I have fabricate, I can do but eventually, Devon will make his divine mantle, his like magic robes. I think there were a few other suggestions. I can't remember exactly what they were, but we will return to that. I was gonna, Oh, I needed the staff of the world staff. That's the
Philosopher's Stone.
The Philosopher's Stone.
Yes.
I was gonna fabricate that into the stitching of the mantle.
Yes.
But that can wait. We got
Philosopher's Stone will
level 14.
It's a long process to get there, right? There will be many steps to get to the Philosopher's Stone, and exploring the elemental planes, or at least the creatures that are there, is probably a big part of that, because the staff holds up the world, and the world is made of the elemental planes, and so you probably need a pretty good understanding of all of the planes before you can really make any progress with the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah. And then Devon doesn't really he's got some valuables worth protecting. So there is, I don't know if we talked about it on stream, but there is some monster summoning / creation to be done. Going to Drexel's workshop and summoning some guardians for my wizard tower. That maybe that can go along the same veins as elemental summoning, as in we can do it in a similar vignette, similar, I don't know, mini quest. You will off. Need to be evil to summon my guardians. Or maybe the act of summoning them makes you evil. In any case, we will maybe next week we can go to Drexel's workshop and finalize some research on conjuring elementals, maybe make some other monsters.
Yeah. Well, I think we should bring today in for a landing then. You good to play next week? I think we missed a Dicing with Death or two because I forgot to just put it on the schedule.
Yeah,
so.
I can. Next week should work. The week after, I will be out of town.
Well, let's do next week. Is this noon slot better for you than the morning slot?
I think I need to do the noon slot typically.
That is perfect. I much prefer the noon slot.
Yeah.
Adding it to the calendar. Dicing with Death, Wednesday the 9th. Added.
Fun stuff. Any closing thoughts? Any narration to drop? Any like historical updates to the region to give, or you hadn't thought of them yet?
Well, I have a chart here of all the things that are going on in the area. I did bother to make this. My only thought would be that the silver mine is a pretty big bump in production for the local area, because there is quite a bit of silver to be found here at pretty good concentrations. As long as it can get smelted down, this can be an export hub for silver, which maybe in this immediate local area, which is still kind of economically depressed, there's not a lot of call for. But using that trade hub of yours, that
Shelter Bay.
The town Shelter Bay, there are places further away that once they hear about silver here will come a calling. So the silver mine will, not in the very short term, but in the mid-term, in the mid-future, will bring travelers from afar will bring wealth from afar, and then in the long term might bring threats from afar because you have a large source of silver, and once people with power decide that they want to stop paying you for it, they might be more interested in this mine. But
I think we'll probably push
years down the line.
Yeah, I don't know that we will be. I mean, obviously this word gets out, but I don't think it will be immediately advertised that we're mining silver and selling it as a raw material. I think we will be bringing the silver probably overland to Necrot, where it will be minted into coins, and then these coins will be spent buying goods and services overseas.
Right.
So I think eventually, I imagine over the course of years, people will be like, where is this Necrot place, and how come there are so many silver coins coming out of there? They must have some supply of silver.
It will take a while, right? But word travels. People in Necrot might eventually, who know of the silver mine, might eventually tell people in Shelter Bay, and rumor might spread from Shelter Bay to ships that come here that there is a silver mine somewhere in the hills. But these things happen kind of slowly, so there's no danger in the short term.
Yeah, I think the exact location of the mine will be somewhat of a mystery, although there will eventually be pretty well-run wagon tracks between Necrot and the mine.
By the
I
time,
think similar to the copper mine, it will be a thing that benefits all of the people of Necrot, or at least they get a cut. So it'll be something like 10% of the mine's profits are distributed amongst the people of this, or like 10% of the coins minted get distributed amongst the people. The remaining 90% go to Devon and the Elder's family to spend as they see fit, usually in the benefit of Necrot or Devon's spell research. Well, I like that the Sirens protecting the mines from the sea.
Ooh.
Maybe Devon will need to go return to the Sirens and make some sort of pact with them. But I think even just passively having Sirens off the coast there probably make it pretty dangerous to get there by sea without precautions.
That's true. I had forgot about the Sirens when I mentioned shipping things by sea. That would make it very difficult to ship anything around that cape. Yeah.
Yep. Does any of this change the scope of the region in an undesirable?
No.
I mean, I guess you put the silver mine there. I'm like, if a prominent, I guess a town isn't going to pop up there on the coast because of the silver mine. It will just be a unmarked mining camp. Yeah.
Cool
stuff. Is that it for this week?
I think that is it for this week. Come back next week for some more Dicing with Death. We will have Tombs of Scoria tomorrow. We'll have Embers of the Wilds this weekend. We'll have the first session of Greg running Legends of Arcadia this weekend as well. We made our characters and fleshed them out off stream last Sunday, a few days ago.
Except for Nick, who will be showing up with a gnome illusionist without coordinating with the rest of the party. Sorry for spoilers, but
he doesn't know we're playing Swan Maze and Swords. He's gonna be way out of the loop.
Alas, we didn't have the stats for that.
Fucking Swan Maze. Next time, when you DM, we'll all be geese. It'll be great.
All right.
That's
Good
it.
Stuff.
We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks for watching.